Morning with Angelica representing Baltimore County and Dan representing MDOT. We do now have a quorum. Mr. Chair, feel free to start the meeting at your convenience.
All right. Thank you, Todd. Well, good morning, everyone. And I would like to welcome you to the 383rd meeting of the BRTB. This meeting is being recorded. If anyone online experiences any difficulties, please send a message in the chat box. I ask that BRTB members turn on their cameras during a roll call for attendance as well as for voting. I ask Ms. Rebecca Dybel to start the roll call to determine member participation.
Good morning. Annapolis, Anne Arundel County,
Present.
Baltimore City, Baltimore County,
Here.
Carroll County, Harford County,
Here.
Howard County,
Here.
Queen Anne's County,
Here.
MDOT, RTA of Central Maryland.
Here.
Thank you. Maryland Department of Environment,
Here.
Maryland Department of Planning.
Good morning. Here.
Good morning. Thank you. FHWA. Thank you.
All right. Our first item is the approval of the minutes from the February 24th BRTB meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? All right, hearing nothing. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes? Howard County moves with the motion.
Hartford County seconds.
Thank you. That was Howard County with the motion. Hartford was for the second. Are there any edits from the members? All right. We will now vote on the approval of the minutes. When your name is read, please indicate aye or nay.
Annapolis, Anne Arundel County.
Yay.
Thank you. Baltimore City, Baltimore County,
Yay.
Carroll County, Harford County,
Yay.
Howard County,
Yay.
Queen Anne's County,
Yay.
MDOT, RTA of Central Maryland.
Yay.
Thanks, everyone.
Yay.
Next is our public participation opportunity, where we offer the public a chance to speak to the board. If anyone has any comments on any of the action items, please wait for that item to be discussed. If there's anyone who wishes to address the board at this time, please indicate in the chat box. Todd?
Your chair, no one requested to speak prior to the meeting, and currently there is no one requesting to speak in the chat box.
All right, thank you. We now ask for the report on public involvement activity from Ms. Monica Haynes Benketta. Monica?
Thank you so much. Good morning. I think the report is coming up on the screen. A moment. There we go. And you can go to the next slide then. Great. So I just want to share the report for public engagement for the last month for February. So we engage folks primarily through an engagement hub at yourregionyourvoice.org. And we had over 500 visitors last month, 19 participants. We had 32 comments, and we gained 56 new subscribers. We sent out over 8,000 emails, and we had a really great open rate of 68.7%. Next slide. One of the main um, one of the main issues, one of the main topics that we talked with folks about recently was the transportation planning budget, otherwise known or formally known as the Unified Planning Work Program. Next slide. So this is where the BRTB gets funding for various projects and studies, and we had a comment period to let folks know about what we're doing. We're really excited about over 14 projects that we have lined up in addition to the regular work that BMC staff do. Here's some examples of some of the work that we're doing and we got comments on. Next slide. So for the planning budget, we had 436 visitors during the comment period. We had 28 people participate, and I'm excited to report that that was close to the number of folks we had participate last year. But what's really exciting is that we rebranded the budget. As we said, we used to call it the Unified Planning Work Program, but we rebranded it to more plain language transportation planning budget in 2024 was the first year, and we've had a 460% increase since changing the name. So we're really excited about that. We sent over 1,800 emails reaching out to folks to let them know about that. That's about a 6.4% conversion rate, which is close to the industry standard. We did notice that reminder emails drove the strongest engagement. So just letting folks know isn't enough, but having that tap on the shoulder to remind folks really helped drive some engagement, especially towards the end. Next slide. So what did we hear? In terms of transportation priorities and needs, folks wanted reliable transit, expanded connections, safer walking and biking infrastructure, and more transportation choices beyond driving. This is familiar territory for us. This is what we hear during a lot of the comment periods. One of the things we wanted to know is we did reach a number of new folks, 15 people or 71%. It was the first time for them to learn about this budget. So that's exciting that we're reaching some new folks. And there's a few quotes from people, again, talking about reliable, timely public transit, wanting to finish projects already in process more quickly. There was interest in the quick build projects that are proposed and really like that for making biking and walking more safer. Again, people are looking for additional opportunities for people who may not drive or may not have a car, and looking for training and support for local jurisdictions. So that's a lot of what we heard. In terms of future planning activities, there was interest in the projects that were proposed. They suggestions for clear standards for planning for bus rapid transit, talking about transit supportive development and trying to connect with missing middle housing, the new regional bike ped corridors and the projects that we were talking about for Patapsco Regional Greenway and Bike Baltimore Region. There's a lot of interest in supporting that kind of thing and additional work like that. And then looking at the impacts of highway expansion and congestion and focusing, again, people have a strong interest in seeing projects built more quickly, not just planning. So Henryton Road, we're excited, is again the Patapsco Regional Greenway we've been working on. We've got the Henryton Road Spur Phase 1 that's launched. This is a piece of the Patapsco Regional Greenway. And it would connect the Sykesville to McKeldin PRG Trail to Henryton Road across the Patapsco River. And it would be a multi-use trail for walking, biking, and we know that there's some folks who like to horseback ride out there as well. So before we start to plan, we want to hear from the community. Are you interested, excited about this? What kind of features would you like to see, and how can we improve the trail for everyone? To participate, you can go to yourregionyourvoice.org/PRG. We've also launched project page for Region Next 2055. That's the new name for our long-range regional transportation plan. And so Region Next 2055 envisions the Baltimore region with safe, accessible, and affordable transportation options, no matter how you choose to get around. So, this is really important stuff. And we know that 2055 is a ways away, but it's important to look towards the future. We've got severe storms and flooding. There's new technology and travel options, major disruptions, like the collapse of the Key Bridge. Plus, we know costs are going up for a lot of folks, and things are changing in terms of community needs and population growth. So we're thinking big picture, and we want you to be involved. You can get involved at yourregionyourvoice.org/region next. We've also been out and about connecting with folks at various committees and commission meetings. Here's just a sample. We've been out in Anne Arundel County at a few of the commissions for women's bicycle advisory. We've been to some of the Commission on Disabilities meetings, the Multimodal Transportation Board, and the MBPAC Trails Committee. Next. We also were really excited to participate in the Howard County Transportation Open House. We had several staff that were out there talking about Bike to Work Week and about our Bike Baltimore region and other transportation planning efforts that we're involved in. So thanks so much to Howard County for us giving us the opportunity to participate. It was a great event. And I wanted to share, we've got a range of newsletters. I've been sharing that we have a newsletter called Be More Involved, but we also have, and that covers general community engagement, your go-to place for public involvement. But we also have a newsletter on active transportation. So those are projects and innovations related to biking and walking, making it safer to travel and be more connected. So that's at yourregionyourvoice.org/AT news. That stands for Active Transportation Newsletter. We also have a newsletter for the Baltimore Regional Transit Commission. That is BRTC. And so that has really great updates on regional transit news, meetings, policy, stories about how transit impacts communities, ways to get involved. And that's at yourregionyourvoice.org/BRTC. And then if you want to check out Be More Involved, that's at yourregionyourvoice.org/Be More Involved. And we're looking for volunteers for the Transportation Corps. It's a virtual group of volunteers. We particularly need folks from Annapolis, Anne Arundel, Carroll, Harford, Howard, and Queen Anne's County. You can apply at yourregionyourvoice.org/core app. And so what's ahead? Again, I mentioned Region Next. We've also got our short range plan we're calling Region Now. So we'll be looking at what's coming up now and in the short term, and then looking for into the future. We'll also be promoting Phase 3 of the Cherry Hill Patapsco Regional Greenway Trail. So that's coming up. So you can stay tuned at our engagement hub at yourregionyourvoice.org. And that's all I have for you this month. Are there any questions? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that, Monica. All right. We now ask for a report on the March meeting of the Technical Committee from Ms. Angie Daniel. Angie?
Thanks, Trey. Good morning, everyone. The Technical Committee considered a resolution for one amendment to the 2026-2029 TIP for the Port Administration's Dundalk Marine Terminal Resiliency and Flood Mitigation Project. Project sponsors presented information on the project in the Technical Committee meeting. And the Technical Committee agreed to send the resolution to the BRTB for consideration and approval. Next, MDE and BMC staff provided an overview of air quality in the Baltimore region. The Baltimore region is currently in non-attainment with the ground level ozone standard. As a result, MDE must establish budgets and a plan outlining how the state will attain the budget for ground level ozone. In January, the EPA published a clean data determination for the Baltimore non-attainment area. A clean data determination is a ruling that the Baltimore area has attained the ozone standard based on 2022 and 2024 data. Next, MDE will develop a maintenance plan and keep an eye on the 2026 ozone season. BMC staff also shared details of the conformity process and the methods used to demonstrate that projects in the TIP and LRTP adhere to air quality standards for ground level ozone. Next, Ms. Tourier Lassiter presented an overview of MDOT's performance reporting activities in the annual attainment report. The report provides a yearly overview of the performance of Maryland's transportation system, including special investment, mobility, and accessibility. MDOT added more than 20 new performance measures in 2024, including EV adoption and fleet conversion, access to transit and jobs, and infrastructure susceptible to flooding and storm surge. Ms. Lassiter described how MDOT works with the BRTB to coordinate target setting and asset management planning. She highlighted upcoming reporting deadlines and coordination requirements between MDOT and the BRTB, including congestion and emission targets due by October 1st, 2026. Finally, BMC staff shared several updates. MTA completed public outreach for the Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan for the Baltimore region, and the draft plan is available online. BMC staff also provided an update on the Region Next 2055, the next LRTP for the Baltimore region. BMC recently launched a website for Region Next 2055. The technical committee has reviewed the proposed goals and strategies and project scoring methodology for Region Next, and members were asked to contact BMC with any comments that would preclude them from starting the call for projects in April. Project sponsors will be asked to submit candidate, roadway, transit, and active transportation projects between April and June 2026. The BRTB will consider resolutions for the goals and strategies and project scoring methodology in May. And that concludes my technical committee report. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. We're moving on to our action items. Mr. Lang, please present the one action item that we have today.
Today, the BRTB is being asked to consider Resolution 26-23. It's an amendment for the TIP from the Maryland Port Administration for the Dundalk Marine Terminal Resiliency and Flood Mitigation Project. I'm going to turn it over to Nicole Condell, who's going to introduce the resolution, and then hand it over to a speaker from the port. Nicole?
Hi, good morning. Thank you. As noted, this resolution 2623 involves a request from MPA to update funding in the current 26 to 29 TIP for the Dundalk Marine Terminal Resiliency and Flood Mitigation Project. This project is currently in the TIP as exempt from Clean Air Act conformity analysis. This was confirmed by ICG earlier this month via email. And additionally, the tech committee confirmed this project and this amendment earlier this month as well. I will now pass the mic over to Mr. Dominic Skirty to present the details of the project. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Nicole. Good morning. You can advance to the next slide, please. So the project, the project is the Dundalk Marine Terminal Resiliency and Flood Mitigation. This project will provide critical flood protection at the Maryland Port Administration's Dundalk Marine Terminal by installing tide gates or backflow preventers to prevent storm surges from flowing back through the drains into the terminal. It will also install a perimeter barrier, sometimes called a sea curb, to prevent storm surges from overtopping the berths. And in addition, it'll construct a new box culvert with lateral drains to deal with extreme rain events. The project will protect DMT from storm surges that may be associated with sea level rise and flooding from future high-intensity, short-duration rain events. This project is part of a larger long-term resiliency and flood mitigation program at our terminals. Next slide, please. So what you have here is just an overview of Dundalk Marine Terminal. And as I mentioned, the sea curb will basically extend around that entire perimeter. It will raise the berth level approximately, I believe, 2 feet. In addition, most of the other work will be underground or not seen. Next slide. So as I mentioned, it has 3 phases. It will install and construct a new box culvert along First Street within our terminal. Currently, our stormwater drains into a box culvert outside the terminal owned by Baltimore City. In addition, as I mentioned, it'll install backflow preventers or tide gates to prevent that storm surge from coming back up through the storm drains and install the aforementioned sea curb around that perimeter. All 3 phases are currently under construction, and the project is scheduled for completion in our fiscal year 2027. Next slide. So the reason for the change is that the project currently has a estimated cost of approximately $51.8 million in the tip. The updated cost estimate is a little above 71 million, and that was due to more of a clerical error when entering data for the FY26 through FY29 tip. The anticipated project spending for 2025 was omitted when entering that total cost. Next slide. As we mentioned, Nicole mentioned it is exempt. Next slide. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
With this, we now ask the BRTB to consider Resolution 26-23. Mr. Chair?
All right, thank you. I ask any member to move for approval of the resolution in a second.
Harford County
Karen.
motions.
Arundel seconds.
Harford moves and Arundel seconds it. Thank you. Does any BRT member have any questions or comments on the resolution? All right, hearing none. We now ask if any member of the public has any questions or comments on the resolution. For those online, please indicate you would like to comment in the chat box. Todd, has any member of the public asked to speak?
Chair, no one requested to speak on this action item prior to the meeting, and currently there is no one requesting to comment in the chat box.
All right, thank you. We now proceed to the vote. Again, with cameras on, when Rebecca reads your name, please indicate aye or nay.
Annapolis, Anne Arundel County,
Aye.
Baltimore City, Baltimore County,
Aye.
Carroll County, Harford County,
Aye.
Howard County,
Aye.
Queen Anne's County,
Aye.
MDOT,
Aye.
and RTA of Central Maryland.
Aye.
Thanks so much.
Baltimore City is here. I apologize. I'm really sick.
Oh, thank you so much for letting me know. I appreciate it. Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Well, the resolution has passed. Thank you all for that.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on for our BMC staff will now update the members on a reauthorization of the Federal Surface Transportation Reauthorization.
It's a mouthful.
Yes, it was.
Good morning, everyone. Todd Lang here again. Just wanted to give the members a little bit of update on what we know as the IIJA or Infrastructure and Jobs Act reauthorization. We've recently been down in DC working with our partners at the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations. Wanted to kind of pass along some of the information that we've received on the progress or sometimes lack thereof in terms of moving forward on the reauthorization program. So we'll give you a little, as I said, brief overview of what we've heard. So again, these are slides presented from AMPO. We're going to try to characterize some of the information that we've heard. So reauthorization, just to tell you kind of what it is, this is the federal transportation funding program. This occurs every 5 to 6 years. So the current program, known as the IIJA, is expected to expire at the end of fiscal year 2026. This is the way that funding comes through the program, and it's guaranteed once it goes through reauthorization. Funding comes from the Highway Trust Fund, which is paid by federal gas taxes. So the process to update the reauthorization, again, needs to go through the House of Representatives and the Senate. And there's a few key subcommittees in terms of writing the bill and moving it forward. On the House side, there's a Transportation and Infrastructure Committee that is really in charge of writing the policy on the House side. And the Ways and Means Committee is the one that ultimately comes up with the funding, which can be sometimes the bigger challenge. On the Senate side, the Environment and Public Works Committee is the one that writes the highway section, and the Banking Subcommittee is the one that does the transit section of the reauthorization bill. And then things like safety are written through the Commerce Subcommittee. So again, there's a lot of different people involved in the program. At the end of the day, all of them need to come together and pass a single reauthorization bill. But these different committees are moving at a different pace, and we'll try to give you a little bit of feeling of what we're hearing in terms of the progress in these different areas. Here's just kind of a history of reauthorizations going all the way back to 1960 with the beginning of the 1916 with the beginning of the federal highway program. We really started getting into this kind of regular program back in 1991 with the passage of Ice-T. And then we've had reauthorizations basically every 5 to 6 years, going through T21, Safety Lou, MAP 21, the FAST Act, and ultimately in 2021, the IIJA program. You'll see the kind of dollar amounts that we were talking about. Typically, they're a 5 to 6 year bill. The T21 program was $220 billion for a 6 year program. Safety Lou was somewhat similar at $244. And then, we jumped up to about $50 billion through the MAP 21 program. The FAST Act itself was about a $60 billion per year program. And then a fairly large increase as we got up into IIJA with $550 billion over the 5 year program. Looking at kind of the split in terms of what the changes were on the IIJA program, this is when discretionary programs really came into being on a fairly large scale. So with the IIJA funding, about 76% of them were the formula funding programs through Federal Highway and Federal Transit Administration. But then 24% of the IIJA was discretionary programs. We've seen that kind of explosion of discretionary grant applications through the IIJA, and even most of those were eligible even at the regional or local level. So you can see the program again from FAST Act to IIJA was $5.5 billion in discretionary funding with the FAST Act. In the IIJA, it jumped all the way up to $28 billion. So where are we right now? So Congress is currently working on reauthorization. The bill itself for the IIJA expires on September 30th, so something has to happen at or before September 30th. We're currently hearing that Congress is trying to release some legislative text this spring. Again, the House Transportation and Infrastructure Subcommittee is circulated internally between the majority and the minority, and they have a goal of passing that out of the House in the spring. On the Senate side, the Environment and Public Works Committee is the one that's furthest along. They're hoping to introduce a bill in April or May. But again, there's a lot of different items on the congressional calendar, and these might be challenging. And as we said, we also need to try to figure out a funding mechanism for the money for reauthorization. So everything we're hearing is that at least a short-term extension of current funding is likely. We're not anticipating them to get a bill through by September 30th. But again, some of the issues might be that, then some of the discretionary funding might not be able to continue, at least on a temporary basis, until we get a new reauthorization. So what has been talked about, this is Chairman Graves of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Subcommittee. He is basically previewing that they'd like to go back to the basics after creating all of these new discretionary programs. They want to focus on the most fundamental infrastructure needs with a focus on roads and bridges, less discretionary money and programs, and less expansive reach of the since the IIJA, with focus on safety, streamlining, and project delivery. So that's kind of what we're hearing, at least from the majority side on the House. And again, there are kind of different opinions with all the different committees in terms of areas that they like to focus on. But traditionally, House T&I is one of the groups that kind of leads in terms of the policy discussion. And you see that they're kind of furthest along in terms of trying to come forward with a bill. Just one other item, there is what's known as kind of a marker bill out there that has been a bipartisan bill with a representative from Michigan and Pennsylvania. This is a bill that kind of supports AMPO's legislative priorities. It's also supported by the National Association of Regional Councils, National League of Cities, the Mayor's Conference, and the National Association of Counties. This Basics Act is basically putting some legislative language out there that is supported by local governments, trying to get some kind of more local input into the process. But again, we don't anticipate the Basics Act to go anywhere. But again, it's what is typically just trying to put some legislative language out there to try to support kind of local initiatives. So we didn't want to get too in deep with all of this, but we did want to give you a little bit of feeling for what's going on with reauthorization since the deadline is coming up September 30th. Again, we'll try to keep you up to date in terms of whether or not any legislative language officially comes out, and we're always open to answering any questions that you may have. So with that, I'll turn it back to the chair and see if there's any questions. Mr. Chair?
Yes, thank you, Todd. Are there any questions from any members? All right, great. We move on to the our BMC staff now will review the proposed fiscal year 2027 planning budget, also known as the Unified Planning Work Program. Todd, back to you.
Okay, everyone. Again, Todd Lang here, having some new members join, so I'll try to see if I can get those in. What we'd like to do today is give you an update on what Monica was talking about, the 30-day public comment period for the fiscal year 2027 planning budget. This is technically known as the Unified Planning Work Program. It's our annual work program for the Metropolitan Planning Organization. This was reviewed and approved to go out to a 30-day public comment period by the technical committee back in their February meeting. We are anticipating a resolution to adopt this planning budget at the April meeting, but we did want to give the BRTB members at least a little preview to make sure that you're comfortable with what's out there while we're still in the draft form, in case you want to make any changes to the program. So here's the schedule. Again, we've been talking about this really at the end of 2025 with the tech committee approving the 30-day public comment period on February 3rd that ran from February 5th through March 8th. Again, we received a number of comments and we're considering, making some changes to the UPWP based upon those comments. and the approval will come at the elected officials meeting that's in person on April 24th. And then we submit it to our federal partners, prepare contracts with our local governments, and the work program begins July 1st of 2026. So it's about a $12 million budget. About 7.5 million of that goes to BMC staff. There's funding for local jurisdictional projects, and then focus area consultants. And again, our funding sources come from Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, MDOT chips in a good chunk, and then local funding that comes through the BMC work program from local jurisdictional dues. As Monica had mentioned, there's about 14 individual studies that were identified through the program, at least in the draft. I'll quickly kind of go through those to give you a feel for kind of where they came from, what we're anticipating on doing. The Automated Delivery Vehicle Readiness Program, again, we are hearing more and more about these kind of driverless vehicles going around the jurisdictions and delivering food and other types of items. We again there's pilot programs out there. We want to make sure the local jurisdictions are ready for these different types of items, both in terms of regulatory items that you might want to put into place, but then also thinking about different types of infrastructure and how you need to plan for these. We're looking for another preliminary design of one of the bikeable Baltimore region network segments, very similar to what we've been doing through the Patapsco Regional Greenway. Bus rapid transit readiness, there's some renewed interest in discussion of BRT, including in Howard County and other jurisdictions. We want to work to try to identify different corridors, but then also different applications when it makes sense to have dedicated lanes in terms of putting BRT in the center of the road versus on the side of the road, those types of items. Another item that is really just kind of new is driverless taxis. We're hearing about those potentially coming into our region, and we thought it'd be a good time to kind of learn from some of the other jurisdictions. Make sure we have all the items in place to be prepared for these different applications of driverless taxis within the region. There was a discussion and interest in looking at enhancing local transportation public engagement. Every jurisdiction does public engagement a little bit different. We thought this could be a good survey of how people are doing it right now, trying to figure out how we might be able to improve the practices at the local level. Expanded safety audits is always of interest, especially with the Vision Zero committee that we had heard about. There's some great work going on, such as in Howard County, where you bring different people to the table in these safety audits and not just the transportation engineers. We've been working with the state on developing a statewide household travel survey. So this is funding looking at how people are traveling in the post-pandemic atmosphere since our last household travel survey was done prior to the pandemic. Another interest is inland flood analysis. A lot of work's been done on coastal areas and along rivers, but we are getting more kind of nuisance flooding, and we want to try to be prepared for that with some new mapping that's been identified by the Maryland Department of the Environment. You've also heard potentially about looking at a rail authority study. Again, there's some legislative language going through about that right now, but to try to understand how we might be able to kind of reset up and look at additional funding mechanisms into our rail program. Following up on an MDOT report, we are looking at some transit-oriented development funding and financing toolkits to try to spur development around our TOD program. Also, travel demand management support, working with our Maryland Department of Transportation and all of our what used to be known as rideshare coordinators, which are now TDM specialists. A follow-up program to the signal infrastructure inspections that was done as part of last year's work program, potentially expanding the pilot program and looking at additional signals. And then some continuing programs, including our LOTS training support, working with the Transportation Association of Maryland, Transportation Land Use Connection grants, the Transportation Planning Institute through AMPO, and then helping to fund updates of local bicycle and pedestrian plans to include the recommendations from the Bikeable Baltimore Regional Program. So that was a mouthful of 14 different programs. Again, we wanted to give you a preview of the upcoming planning budget that will be brought before the April BRTB meeting for consideration. With that, I would like to turn it back to the chair and just see if there are any questions or comments from the members or the public. Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Todd. Again, are there any questions for the members? All right, hearing none. I certainly appreciate that. Is there any other business to come before the BRTB? All right,
Chair,
hearing
there's
none.
currently no business from the BMC staff.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I call for a vote to close the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you all. The next meeting of the BRTB will be in person on Friday, April 24th. Thank you all and be safe.
Thank you. Thank you.